Wow, week 4 is already here. I'm going to do everything in my power this episode to get you guys ready for starts and sits to help you guys make sure you have the optimal roster going into NFL week 4 so that you win the week. No matter what your record is, 3-0, 0-3, 1-2, 2-1, it doesn't matter. I'm going to help you guys here by giving you the must starts at each position and telling you the guys that do have the tougher matchup, including my suggestions on who to start this week, who I think is going to absolutely have a good week. So sit down, buckle up. We're going to go through every position, and I'm going to walk through the must starts and the possible must sits to make sure you have that optimal roster going to NFL week 4. Now, we do have a game tonight. We have games throughout the weekend on Sunday, Monday night. Before I watch any game, what do? I pick up the phone, go online, download the app, Hooters.com, or download the app. Use code FFC20. Okay, guys? FFC20 for delivery and takeout. You save $10 on order of 30 or more. All right, guys? Go use that code FFC20. Order some wings, order some nachos, order some great food. Hooters.com or download the app. Save $10 on order of 30 more or more using code FFC20. Go do that right now. This is the place that I use when I am hungry before the game. FFC20 is the code you want to use. Order some food right now. All right, let's dive into this show, guys. I'm excited. NFL Week 4 starts and sits. Let's get to it. All right, guys, starts and sits week 4. Now, listen, before every single game, enhance that game watching experience as well. Go to mybookie.ag, use code FFC. Now, this is a site I use. This is a site I trust. Code FFC, mybookie.ag. Enhance that game watching experience. And with that code, they'll double your first deposit. So if you put $250 in, you get to play with $500. Pretty amazing. Mybookie.ag, code FFC. We've got Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, UFC, whatever you want to watch sports-wise, MyBookie will get you covered. Go create an account. FFC is the code. Go create it. They'll double your first deposit. Go enhance that game watching experience. That's a site I like to use. Go do that right now. All right, let's start off with the quarterback position. Optimal quarterbacks this week. Let's dive into it. Must starts each position, and then I'm going to go over some guys that have tough matchups. When you are making a decision between starts and sits, we now have 3 weeks, guys, to go by. We have history. We kind of understand who's who, who's not, who's going to do it, who's not. We get it. We understand it. So make educated decisions because starts and sits can really make or break your week. All right? It's very important. All right? So guys that have really good matchups. Joe Burrow versus Miami. Coming off a 23-point week last week. Joe Burrow, if you got him, optimal matchup versus Miami, all right? Geno Smith. I don't know if a lot of people are starting Geno Smith. He's got a good matchup, though, just to let you know, versus Detroit, coming off a 23-point week. Josh Allen, an absolute must-start. In DFS, very expensive, but also in year-long must-start. Playing Baltimore should absolutely light him up. He's had over 3 games over 30 points. Josh Allen, amazing. Russell Wilson's actually got a good matchup versus Vegas this week in a divisional play. Coming off a 9-point week, this is the week where Russell Wilson really has to thrive. Now, if you've got him as a starter, a lot of people say, I got him. He's been crap in the bed for me. 9 points last week, 12 the week before. He's been crap in the bed. This is the week he has to step up. Unless you have got a significant better backup, right? A more consistent one, then Russell Wilson, based on paper, should be a good start. If you are desperate for a quarterback, Cooper Rush, good matchup this week. Matt Ryan coming off a 16-point game last week versus Tennessee, good matchup. Other guys that have must starts this week, Aaron Rodgers versus New England. Baker Mayfield, if you're desperate for a quarterback, has it in easier with New England. Versus Arizona. Aaron Rodgers versus New England, good matchup. Baker versus Arizona. Tom Brady versus KC as well. Coming off a 15-point week, Tom Brady is. Got a good matchup. Marcus Mariota as well versus Cleveland, and Jacoby versus Atlanta. Jacoby coming off a good couple weeks. 18 points last week, 17 the week before. So those are the guys with good matchups, all right? If you're interested in Jared Goff, mid-range matchup, Justin Fields can't be trusted. Jalen Hurts, who's been rock solid, has the 12th hardest matchup versus position on paper versus Jacksonville, but you don't sit Jalen Hurts the way that he's been playing. Guys that have it in tough. Now, again, you're not sitting these people. Lamar Jackson versus Buffalo. Tougher matchup, but coming off huge numbers. You don't sit Lamar Jackson, although I'm warning you, he does have a tough matchup. Tua, tough matchup versus Cincy tonight. Now, he is dealing with ankle and back problems. Watch that situation. If you got him, probably start somebody else. Now, if you're listening on Saturday, this doesn't matter. Either way, Tua, at the time of this recording, I'm recording this Thursday morning, was dealing with some back and ankle issues. Should potentially start. If he doesn't, make sure you guys have backups, okay? Maybe start another quarterback, all right? But monitor that situation. Matt Stafford versus San Fran, tough matchup. Justin Herbert, who's still been limited in practice due to the rib injury, playing Houston, relatively tough matchup versus position, believe it or not, but I'm still going to be starting him, okay? Trevor Lawrence versus Philly, tougher matchup. Kyler, tougher matchup versus Carolina. But, again, if you got a quarterback, he's be consistent, start him. But now you know who's got it in tough. Lamar Jackson's going to be interesting how well he's going to perform versus a tough matchup versus Buffalo with the way he's been performing, how amazing he's been, all right? So, there's your insight on the quarterback position. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribed. Drop your starts and sits questions below. Drop them. I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can, all right? And join, if you want direct access, patreon.com/FFcounselor, all right? Moving on. Running back position. Now, let's go over the guys that have it in easy. With running back, you obviously want to start your starters, even though they have tougher matchups. Let's get to it. Austin Eckler, easy matchup. He's coming off a 13-point week, 1.2 yards per carry on the ground, but he's actually getting it done in the receiving game, keeping it alive, right? Keeping his points alive. Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker, both have easy matchups. Very hard to trust, though, right? Just be aware of that. Javonte Williams, great matchup. Now, I understand Melvin Gordon was limited in practice. His neck was bothering him, okay? But Javonte, good matchup, definitely startable this week. Jonathan Taylor coming off a 12-point week last week and a 7-point game in week 2. But absolutely doing terrible. Got an easy matchup here versus Tennessee. Be aware of that, all right? David Montgomery, look at him. He's banged up, right? If he starts, he's got it in good versus the Giants. He may be limited. If so, Khalil Herbert may be a good start. A lot of people picked him up off waiver wire, are debating on Khalil Herbert. He does have an optimal matchup. Must start this week, especially if Montgomery's limited. Dameon Pierce, must start versus the Chargers. Definite must start. Coming off an 18-point game, had a mini breakout. Must start. Saquon Barkley, who's been red hot, who the Chiefs are now diving onto, riding the hype train when they didn't talk about him at all. All of a sudden, they all seem to love Saquon Barkley. That's really funny because I was telling you about him a long time ago. So Saquon Barkley, easy matchup versus Chicago. Be aware of that, okay? Breece Hall, great matchup this week, who's had, a couple of mini breakouts, 15 points last week versus Pittsburgh. Good matchup. Jamal Williams, a must start, especially with DeAndre Swift being out. He's got it good versus Seattle. Definite must start. James Robinson, a must start as well, all right? Very, very important, guys. These are your must starts. Again, Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams, Jonathan Taylor, all good matchup. Khalil Herbert, if you want him, Dameon Pierce. Those are your must starts. Guys that have it in tough, but if you got him, you got to start him. 15 points last week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got it in tough versus Tampa Bay. Other guys that have it in tough. Aaron Jones coming off a 7-point game. Got it in tough versus New England. Be aware of that. Miles Sanders coming off a 5-point game last week. Got it in tough. You may want to consider sitting him versus Jacksonville. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both have it in tough this week versus Atlanta's rush defense. 7th hardest versus position predicated on matchup. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, been a bit of a crapshoot between those guys. Nick Chubb been relatively solid. Kareem Hunt definitely dipping into that volume. Again, if you got Nick Chubb, obviously got to start him. He's been consistent, but I understand he's got a slightly tougher matchup versus position. Cam Akers coming off an 11-point week. 8th hardest matchup versus position, tougher matchups. Other guys that got it in tough. Dalvin Cook, be aware. Might be a game-time decision. Probably going to be doubtful, questionable. Not sure. Still banged up. I'm assuming they rest him. If so, Alexander Madison, 11th hardest matchup versus position. If you got him, start him. He's still going to get the volume, but tougher matchup, all right? Derrick Henry coming off a nice week last week. Everyone's like, oh, he had an easy matchup last week. This week, a little bit tougher versus Indy's defense. 13th hardest versus position. I'm definitely still starting. Derrick Henry this week. All right. So those are some starts and sits. Again, if you have any questions, drop them below. Moving on to the wide receiver position. Now, understand, guys, this is predicated on matchup, and I'm giving you guys some insight on must starts. Okay. If you have a starter that's been consistent, even though they've got a tougher match, you still have to start them. All right, guys. And think outside the box a little bit. Take a look. Is this person getting volume? If you're torn between two people, what do they do the past 3 weeks? Who's getting the volume? Who's getting the snap counts? How is it working out? Decide, make educated decisions because starts and sits can really make or break your year. make sure you're starting the right people. I'm trying to do my best to help you. Drop your questions below. All right, let's go with the easy matchups here at the wide receiver position. Diggs must start versus Baltimore. Amazing. Him, Davis, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, all good matchups. It could be a good distribution on where the ball is going, but obviously Diggs and Davis getting it done. CeeDee Lamb coming off a good week, 23 points last week. Not bad, playing Washington. Easy matchup. Second easiest versus position. Michael Pittman, and I like Alec Pierce. He's starting to get in the groove. Pierce had 9 points. They're going to have to use him if they want to win. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, thumbs up. Must starts this week. All right, let's move on here. Deebo Samuel must start this week. Amari Cooper coming off a nice game. Must start this week versus Atlanta. Both Deebo and Amari, good matchups. Must starts. All right, don't question it. Drake London coming off 3 solid weeks actually playing Cleveland. Great matchup. Must start. DK Metcalf and Lockett coming off a good week last week. Both had around 17 points apiece. Good matchup versus Detroit. Must starts. Deontay Johnson, the receivers from the Steelers, have it in good versus the Jets. Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. I know a lot of people asking questions about Davis Mills. Listen, he's not performed. He can't win games, but playing terrible. If they're going to turn it around, this is the week. Los Angeles Chargers secondary, not playing the greatest against wide receivers. Cooks, Collins have it in good. Davis Mills has to get over this hump of fear, whatever it is. I don't know what's holding him back, but he's got to start throwing to his receivers. And I'm telling you, Cooks, Nico could have a good week. If any week, it's this week. It's make or break for those guys. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, good matchup this week, guys, versus Pittsburgh. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, great matchup versus position here against Jacksonville. On paper, it looks good. And when we're talking Jamar Chase and Higgins, also good matchups, okay? Guys that have it in slightly tougher. And again, do not sit these guys if they're your wide receivers. Devontae Adams, okay? I just saw a stat the other day where his receiving yards over the past 2 games is lower than like Mac Hollins, Renfro, and everybody else on the team. Like, this was a guy that everybody told you is a first-round pick. I said, no, don't draft Adams. You guys are copying and pasting him from last year. Sure enough, he's not returning his investment. The only thing that's keeping him as afloat is the 2 receiving touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. Other than that, he's done nothing. Absolutely nothing, okay? He would look a lot worse than he is. He is playing Denver. It is a tough matchup. They got Mac Hollins. They got Renfro. They got Waller. They got so many other receiving targets. I don't trust him, and he's got a tough matchup this week. So if he thrives during this week, I'd be pretty impressed if he bounces back. Tyreek Hill coming off a crappy 5-point game. Tough matchup versus Cincy secondary. We'll see how that goes tonight. Darnell Mooney is droppable and benchable. I don't trust him at all. And he's got it in tough versus the Giants secondary. Cooper Kupp, San Fran secondary. 4th hardest versus position on paper. Got it in tough. So Cooper Kupp, if you guys have Cooper Kupp, he's been as consistent as they come. Will that continue? Something to watch this week. Week 4, I'll be pretty impressed if he goes 4 in a row. Romeo Doubs, 6th hardest matchup for his position, him and Lazard. We'll see if Watson's back. I think Watkins is on IR. Should be an opportunity for Doubs to continue to step up. Okay, but he's got it in tough versus position. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're not going to sit him. He's a must start, but he's got 8th hardest matchup versus Seattle secondary. Be aware. Thielen and Jefferson, something else to watch and monitor, as Thielen has been the point getter and the target getter the past 2 weeks. 9th hardest versus position. Jefferson's had 2 weeks where he's busted. Be aware of that as well, all right? So there's some starts and sits for you guys, and Judy and Sutton have mid-range matchups. Moving on to tight end, then I'm going to give you guys some defenses here. Guys that have it in good that you may want to consider. David Njoku coming off a huge week. Got it good again with Atlanta. You may want to consider starting him. Robert Tonyan, who's been boring and safe at best, got it good versus New England. You may want to consider starting him. Hayden Hurst, a good start this week, predicated on matchup. We got TJ Hawkinson, Detroit versus Seattle. Good matchup for Hawkinson, who's had an 11-point week last week. Darren Waller, 5-point week last week. Very hard to trust. Good matchup versus position versus Denver. Something to be aware of. So if you look at this, guys, Denver tends to play tight ends a little bit better, a little bit softer than they do wide receivers. So Waller could have an opportunity to thrive this week. Something to monitor. So this is something to definitely watch. Because like I said, Adams got in tough versus the corners. But again, they're a little softer predicated on paper for tight ends. So maybe this is a week that the Waller emerges. Something to monitor and make a note to see if matchups really make a difference, okay? Something to definitely keep an eye on. Mike Gesicki, pretty decent matchup here versus Cincy. Be aware of that. Kelsey's obviously a must-start. You never sit Kelsey, no matter who he's playing. Gerald Everett has a mid-range matchup this week. Definitely want to consider starting him versus Houston. I think that's a relatively easy matchup for him if he gets the volume. Higbee, Kittle, Mark Andrews. Tough matchups versus positions. Something to be aware of. But when you're looking at a slim tight end position, you do not sit guys with that type of stature and that type of name. All right, you just don't do that. Moving on to defenses here. Let's dive into it. Guys that have optimal matchups. Again, this is on paper, predicated on the first 3 weeks. You definitely want to start your main defense if you got a good defense that's been consistent. If not, you may want to consider streaming some of these options, okay? Vikings, Titans, 49ers. Vikings playing New Orleans, Titans playing Indy, 49ers playing Rams, and Dolphins playing Cincy. Cowboys versus Washington, Rams versus San Fran, and Green Bay versus New England. All really good starts. You may want to consider the Steelers versus the Jets. And again, that team has not been quite the same without Watt being in the lineup. Something to monitor there, but relatively easy matchup versus position. And maybe even the Colts versus Tennessee. All right. And the way Chicago's been playing, Giants might not be a bad start as well versus Chicago. All right. So, guys, if you're torn between two picks, here's what I do. I lay out the two players that I want to start. I take a look at who they're playing. Is the matchup favorable? Okay, it's more favorable to this guy. Okay, let's take a look at their last 3 weeks. Who's been more consistent? Okay, how much target share are they getting? Okay, how much snap share are they getting? Okay, then I can make a better educated decision on who to start. But we see it so much with wide receivers. Totally volatile, right? 1 week Thielen gets it, 1 week, Jefferson gets it, right? 1 week Adams gets it, 1 week Matt Collins gets it, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty, even with guys. Tyreek Hill had a bad week last week. Even with guys that were drafted early rounds, it's been a crapshoot. I've been safer with Drake London, and I got him in the 6th round than people that drafted Devontae Adams. Does that make sense? So make the right choices. Drop your questions below. I'll get to as many as possible. Now, also, head on over to mybookie.ag. Use code FFC. Create an account to enhance that game watching experience. That's mybookie.ag. Code FFC. Go create an account right now and have some fun. I appreciate you guys being here. NFL Fantasy Football Week 4 is here. We are rolling through the season. It's been a lot of fun. Let's continue it, guys. Starts and sits. Let's keep it going. Start the right people. Win this week. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. I'm out. Hit subscribe.